Good morning, everybody. Today we are going to be making a head model in Vectary. So we're going to start off with a box, and what is important is that we are having the right amount of subdivisions. So we're going to divide once so that the height is divided into two faces, and we're going to have 4 faces across the front. Gonna get that about the right size. And we're going to have 2 subdivisions along the side, so the back of the head and the front of the head. Now, as we're going to go ahead and delete half of the faces because humans are symmetrical. So we're going to model half the head, reflect it, so that we have a perfectly symmetrical head. We're going to move the center, the second subdivision in so that it lines up with the outside of the nose. And now we're going to start going into vertex mode and moving the vertexes in so that it is conforming to the shape of the head. We're going to be using our references significantly. And you'll notice that I'm going to hit M a lot to get the marquee. And then clicking and dragging to select a group of vertexes that are in line. So you can see all of those were moved together. Now I need to move this, move the vertex points each in both directions. I want to toggle from the front and from the side in order to get the overall shape. Helpful here is hitting tab in order to put it into the orthographic modes, side and front, so that will snap it into there. Now, okay, so I'm moving things in order to get the overall shape. It does not have to be perfect, but that's a pretty good start. But now we need to round the corners. So, what I'm doing is selecting the corner edges, vertexes, and moving them in, or taking the ones that are on the central axis, the midpoint of the face, and moving them out. So that the side plane of the head is narrower than the other. And you'll see that now there is a taper to the front plane of the head and the back plane of the head, making it more rounded. I have to check it from all sides. Note, also when I put in the reference pictures, I made sure that they were the same height, and I made sure that when putting in those reference pictures that I turned the X-ray view under the menu settings to no X-ray so that I could see these. All right, so always with organic modeling, it is about going back and adjusting. Now we're going to do the eye. So I'm taking that top quadrant, and I've made sure that that whole quadrant is above the eye, and I'm extruding, hitting E, to make the eye socket basically line up, and I'm going to move the vertex points until they're here. So there I went into the top right corner and went into the wireframe mode so that I can see where things are. And you can see here that it looked right from one angle, but it looks terrible from another angle. So I'm going to go in, oh, screwed up. That's why it's important to make sure that we check it from multiple angles. All right, so we're going from one back to the other, checking to make sure it looks good. Now, the occipital bone here is completely out of place, so the angle of the face wasn't correct, so I'm just going to move that back by selecting those vertexes or those edges and pushing them back. There is no quick way to do an organic model. You just have to go in and move things around. So here we're doing the mouth. So what we want to do is create an orbit of loops around the mouth, just like we have from the eye. So we select those two faces, we extrude them in. That's going to create the mouth shape, but notice that I just deleted those two interior faces, right? I'm deleting them so that they are, I don't scale them away, I delete them completely. So that they're, and I move the center line in to meet the middle. Okay? Now I'm moving the vertexes in order to create the overall shape of the mouth. I'm noticing right now that the points of the face are sort of out of line, so I'm going back in and moving them to where I want them to be. Notice the chin is like way out of line. So move that back in. Switching between wireframe and shaded modes in order to see what's going on. So that's pretty good as a start. From here, I think I want to add a little extra definition to the face. So I'm going in with my draw tool and I'm adding in an edge loop. This will allow me to move vertexes around. I'm also going to do one from front to back. This is going to go all the way around, and it's going to interact with the mouth as well, giving me a little bit more ability to add some definition to the mouth as well. We want to keep it as simple as possible in terms of poly count for now, but adding just a couple extra edge loops can make a difference in terms of getting it to look a little bit more organic. So now I'm refining the shape of the eye, moving the corners in to make it more elliptical. There we go. I'm noticing the eye is too high, so I have to bring everything down. The nice thing about this sort of organic modeling is you can't screw up too badly. You can always just move things back. Takes a lot of tweaking. Getting an overall eye shape. At the end of this process, I'll go in and add eyelid definition and things like that. But you can see, again, you need to check it from both sides and move individual vertexes. Excellent. Doesn't have to be perfect to the reference, but you definitely make it as close as you can. I'm always being aware of all of the areas. It is something looking very out of line. Okay. So from here, I'm going to go in and refine the mouth. I have some extra edge loops, extra points in there, so I'm going to move those around. And I'm selecting those faces and extruding in. Again, you're going to see that I'm going to delete the interior face and move that vertex, those vertexes in to the center line. So this is going to be the seam of the mouth. All right. So I'm moving that up. So now we have a seam sort of interior area, and then the upper lip, which is going to be slanted in, and the lower lip, which is going to be pushing out a little bit. Continuing to make adjustments. So you can see that the lips are angled, more angled than you think. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go make the nose. So here I'm deciding if I want to add an extra edge loop, but it was being a pain in the butt, so I decided not to in the end. What I ended up doing is moving this edge up so that it's a little bit higher and I had a little bit more room, selecting these 3 faces, sort of the bridge of the nose and the nostril. Notice here I'm deleting these 2 faces again, and those points have to be moved to the center. So you have to delete the interior faces that are going on at that. All right, so I'm moving edges down and around to create the overall shape of the profile of the nose and sort of start the bridge of the nose. Okay, so this is basically the outline of what the nose, where the nose is going to sit. And I'm going to do one last extrusion. So I'm going to select all of this again, extrude out again. And then I'm going to start actually, oops, there you go. Now I'm going to start moving things. So there's a hard ridge here, so I'm going to move that down in order to create sort of a sloping start of the nose, bring out the point of the nose and the nostril. Not bad overall for a basic shape already. Tilt up the nose a little bit, the base of the nose. Okay, so this is showing you, like, when you make the nose, a wall starts out at the front side, so you need to delete that sort of interior wall that is created. Excellent. Now we're going to make an ear. So I'm going to select the 6 faces of the side of the head, extrude in, arrange it. The ear comes from about the eye down to the mouth in position. And then I'm extruding out to create the shell of the ear. Mine is in the wrong place. I should move it, apparently. Didn't notice. Alright. So you can see that it's a little far out in the front right now. So we need to push the 4 interior front vertexes in to make it a little bit more wedge-like, so that the outer rim is pushing out a little bit more and the interior is laying a little bit more flat. Excellent. Now what we want to do is create the ear canal. So I'm extruding and extruding in and pushing it back. Actually here I'm just going to establish sort of the outer width of the ear, and then I'm doing another extrusion and pushing that back to create the recession in the center of the ear. More adjustments as always. One thing that I did not do that I would go back and do is later we'll smooth this this whole thing. So if you want to add an edge loop on the edge of the ear, that will keep it out and distinctive in the future. So you could add an extra edge loop in there. What I'm doing now is getting the base of the head. So I deleted the 2 or 4 faces that are at the bottom of the skull where the neck is going to connect, and then I moved those vertexes into a more rounded circle. All right, final things. I select the area of the nostril, extrude it in, hit extrude again, to create that nostril. And make refining. In the end, I decided that that was too wide, and I pushed it in more towards the center line as well. I want a little bit of an eyelid, so I extrude out, extrude to create the lid, and then do another extrusion to push that back into the head, creating the eyeball. Alright, now what I'm going to be doing is going through and adding in some eyelids, so just bringing those out a little bit more. Right now what we need to do is actually make the whole head. So what we're going to be doing is we are going into, from edit, go back into object mode. Under generate, we're going to do symmetry. Now this looks wrong, so on the right hand of the screen we have to go and change this to Y symmetry. Now if I click on the actual piece of the head, one piece of the head in the object mode, you can see I'm using my mode to sort of line up where they are. Now I prefer to have a little gap in between and then merge those to the center. So leave a little bit of gap between your two objects. All right. What we're going to do from here is we have to select both objects. So shift clicking again. Okay, so there's my little gap there. I'm going to shift click to select both of those, and I'm going to go to generate and Boolean addition so that they're now one object. That is going to allow us to merge these together. So continuing forward, you could select two faces and bridge like there. Okay, so that's one way. You could select that whole edge and bridge. So that's going to create another plane between them. Another way to do this is to select two vertexes, which is what I prefer. So I'm going to hit M to select two vertexes and drag around to select them, and then hit X to collapse them into the center, creating a completely symmetrical center line. So you can see that, and I will come back in just a second. So you would do the entire loop, and then I'll come back in a second and show you finished. That's it. So that's going to be your head model, and today, from here, we will go ahead and finish up the last bits of the body, and we'll make the body reflected and tie it all together.